The following is a presentation of the Alliance-Wrestling.com.
Hey guys, welcome to J Cow's View. This is J Cow, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. Hey, I've had a crazy week. Thursday night, I went to the PPRay surprise birthday party. And you know, when most birthday parties, you're bringing presents for them, but they gave us the gift. I mean, I received enamel buttons, I received pins. It was a great party environment. There was piñatas, there was the bottle flip beer game, a lot of beer drinking. Not by me per se, but a lot of beer drinking. But most of all, a lot of great wrestling. And one of the best things about this show is we got to see kind of a different side of the cast from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. This was at the AWS Arena in Southgate. It wasn't a Championship Wrestling from Hollywood show, but it did feature a lot of the talents from the CWFH and also from the United Wrestling Network. We got a Combat Zone Championship match. We got a Hollywood Heritage Championship match. So there was a lot of moving pieces for this event, and it was a blast, to be honest. The show started off with Adrian Quest and Andy Brown taking on Howdy Price's Los Rancheros. Los Rancheros kind of reminds me of early 90s Doom. Two dudes who don't talk, they just get in the ring and they just bust butt. They just beat the crap out of people. And then you've got Adrian Quest and you've got Andy Brown, who are kind of real dynamic. I mean, they fly through the ring, a lot of high impact wrestling. So it was kind of like the Bruisers versus the High Flyers, and it worked very well. I mean, the MVP of the match, though, was probably Howdy Price's Dan Severn t-shirt, because, I mean, good lord, the beast is amazing, and in t-shirt form might even be better. But great night of wrestling, though. These two teams had a lot of high impact moves, a lot of fun, great way to open up the card. The next matchup was the CZW World Heavyweight Championship match. Now, the CZW title hasn't really had a presence in Southern California. It was here when Drew Gulak was world champion. He brought the title at the Wrestling Cares Association event, but it was just showcasing the belt. He didn't have a championship match. It's now been at the Coastline Clash for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood at their last TV tapings, and again it was at this show. My first thoughts on MJF is, first of all, he looks a lot more like Colt Cabana than you think. Secondly, the guy can work. I think he's a really good wrestler, and pairing him in a match with Tyler Bateman was smart booking, for one, because both these guys, they do the subtle little things, just the little tiny things that make a good match a great match. Of course, MJF walked away as the champion, but the goddamn man, Tyler Bateman, certainly gave him everything in that match. And that's one that I can't wait to perhaps maybe see again. Maybe this time in New Jersey. Bateman is one of the best wrestlers in Southern California. I have had the opportunity to hand him awards myself. So it was really cool to see him get one of these high-profile matches. And hopefully, if this show, which was taped, if it makes it out on a video release or on some sort of streaming service, it would be great to see that match. And hopefully Bateman gets a lot more eyeballs focusing on him, because again, he's one of the most underrated talents in wrestling today. As I take a pause here and look at the next match that was on the event. MJF did have a great line, because in the audience was a former WCW World Heavyweight Champion and an actor, a celebrity, David Arquette. MJF said, "Hey, I'm not here to have a party, and I'm not here for some C-list celebrity. I'm here to wrestle." And a great clapback that David Arquette had was, "Hey buddy, anybody could be a champion," which is perfect, because David Arquette, who is anybody, was a champion. Moving right along, the next match on the card was supposed to be B-Boy versus Fidel Bravo. However, Bravo brought his hired muscles, Mr. Pinks, to the match, and essentially Mr. Pinks wouldn't let B-Boy wrestle Fidel. So B-Boy made the match a handicap match, which turned out to be a fruitless gesture, because it ended up costing him the match. Now the match went back and forth, and with B-Boy, you know you're going to get a hard work match, a lot of seriousness in the match, but this one actually had some comedy too. A lot of silliness taking place between Pinks and Fidel and B-Boy, but at the end of the day, it was just too much muscle power against B-Boy for B-Boy to overcome. Next up was the pinata, and PPRay got a pinata up in the ring, and folks were taking whacks at it, and Hot Young Briley came out, interrupted the show, said, "Wait a minute, he wanted the party to be about him. However, I don't think it was his birthday, so I don't know what he was talking about." But this was the segue to the Attitude Era hardcore match, complete with a trash can filled with stop signs, kendo sticks, cookie pan sheets, and then of course Head, Al Snow's famous confidant. Oh, and a moppy. They had a little bit of everything. A table was involved in the match. The table went boom. Hot Young Briley was busted open. A piñata was used as a weapon. The ring was covered in candy. It was virtual chaos in the ring, but it was also really entertaining. Watts, and who was followed by his guy, Ty Matthews, not to be confused with Jay Matthews of China, really added the hyper optimism to the match, and I think even had his own spot where he hit a trash can while trying to get over on Hot Young Briley. The moves were pretty stiff, but it was like a hardcore match from the late 90s. It was like Attitude Era in the name. It was exactly what we got. Matches were this particular match, like I said, a lot of playful weapon use, but it ended with Watts getting the victory, and Hot Young Briley left with a bloody mess and wanting people just to wish him a happy birthday, which I don't think it was his birthday. But moving right along, the show took a brief intermission. After the intermission, we got our own kind of a special attraction match. PPRay versus the Rock Nest Monsters. Now, for those of you who are new to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood or don't follow that show, there's a lot of history between those four men. The tag titles have been defended in, the old Hollywood Heritage tag titles were defended between the two in Mexico and all over Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. There's a love-hate relationship between the Rockness, which is Yuma and Kevin Martinson, and PPRay, which is Ray Rosas and Pretty Peter Avalon. The match was hard-hitting, but the crazy thing that happened is, in the middle of the show, the C-list celebrity, the former WCW World Heavyweight Champion David Arquette, jumped into the ring. Now, this was kind of unheard of, and I mean, in most shows, if a fan jumps into the ring, he's going to get his ass handed to him. But in this situation, obviously it's part of the show because David Arquette's been training to become a pro wrestler. Well, to become a pro wrestler again, he's been training with the United Wrestling Network training facilities, more importantly, Peter Avalon. And it was kind of crazy to see this guy jump into the ring, hit some moves, and then Rockness bring him back in and kind of terrorize him. And come on! Anyways, this thing kind of picked up some news. All the sheets were covering it, but TMZ even covered it because they love the celebrity gossip. But ultimately, we know, or at least I know, and those who know, David Arquette is actually training to get back in the ring on a somewhat, I guess he's doing a documentary. So I don't know where this is going to lead. I don't know if this will actually make the documentary or not, but it's pretty cool. Just to see guys jump in a ring who normally wouldn't be there. Bar Wrestling used Macaulay Culkin at the end of last year, so it's kind of fitting that PPRay brought in David Arquette. The next matchup was the intergender tag team match. It was Ryan Taylor and Ruby Reyes taking on Heather Monroe and Swade Thompson. Now, the pairing between Heather Monroe and Swade Thompson was phenomenal. If you're into gimmicks, if you're into campiness, this was perfect. A lot of comedy between the two. Heather Monroe and Suede very much felt like they were saying, you know, you can't sit here on Wednesdays, we wear pink, and things were Fletch of that nature. I'm not entirely sure. Rays and Ryan Taylor were filled with stiff shots, stiff kicks, high impact wrestling, and the match worked really well. In terms of the whole intergender, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it certainly played well in Southgate, and the interaction between Monroe and Taylor was pretty hilarious. There's parts where she was trying to drag him across the ring, but couldn't even budge him because the dude is filled with muscle and probably too heavy to be moved. There was parts between Rays and Monroe where they just struck each other back and forth, or when Rays just beat the hell out of Suede Thompson. Certainly a fun match, and again, this whole show was recorded. There was play-by-play and color being recorded, so I don't know if this match will ever see the light of day, but it was certainly a fun match, and again, the whole show was really fun. The main event were three of the biggest dudes in championship wrestling from Hollywood. We've had Willie Mack, the reigning and defending Hollywood Heritage Champion. You know, he had been trying to get that title for years and finally won the title by defeating Big Bad Tito, Bad Dude Tito, in some nefarious ways. And then Brian Cage, who is probably the hottest commodity in pro wrestling today. I mean, the guy's wrestling in Noah in Japan. He's wrestling in AAA in Mexico. He's wrestling on TV for Lucha Underground. He's wrestling on TV for Impact Wrestling. And the guy is just jacked. I know he's got a tour of Australia soon, and he's one of the just overall biggest dudes in wrestling. I'm sure the guy can bench press a Chevy pickup truck. The match went great, back and forth, hard hitting action, high impact moves. Ultimately, Willie Mack wins the match, retains the title, and sends Bad Dude Tito and Brian Cage to the back. So overall, the show was great, and if you guys missed it, you done messed up, because I don't know if there's going to be another one. But between you and me, I think this was kind of a test for the United Wrestling Network to see if they're going to start doing more live events similar to this show. We know they've done some in the past, so we'll see if they do plan to do any more in the future. I do want to make a note that I was going to go to Bumps and Bruises this weekend, but my family surprised me with tickets to go to the WWE event at the Anaheim Honda Center. So that's what I'll be doing on Sunday. So look for a video, look for a podcast next week. We'll be talking about where I am Sunday, and then also really excited about the NXT event coming to my hometown, Riverside, coming to the Inland Empire, and that'll be real fun. I'll be doing that next month. So thanks again, you guys, for listening. This podcast is made available on Anchor. Anchor.fm/J-Cow. You could also look for the J Cow's View on Apple iTunes, Google Play, on the podcasting section. We're also available in a bunch of other places, wherever you download your podcast, which is pretty cool. Thank you again for your support, and tune in soon. Also, tomorrow night with Dog Pro Wrestling, we'll be doing a podcast on Blog Talk Radio /Alliance Wrestling. Make sure you tune into that. And guys, thanks again for your listening-ship. If it wasn't for your patronage, this wouldn't happen. So from all the guys at alliance-wrestling.com, I say thank you and see you at the matches.